Okay, cool. Can I just check it's recording? Does it?
There's a big red dot on it,
Right,
so it looks all right.
good. Okay, right. So, good afternoon, Matthew.
Good afternoon, Philip.
Thank you for coming to this careers advice session.
Pleasure.
So, we've obviously had a bit of email correspondence prior to now, but I just want to go over what will happen. So, we've got up to 30 minutes to discuss your future career and anything that you want to bring up in the session. I do need to make you aware that due to safeguarding legislation, I have a duty of care towards you. And if you divulge anything that may put yourself or others at risk, I may have to inform my line manager, otherwise our conversation is strictly confidential.
No problem. Understand all that.
So Matthew, can you please confirm to me what your present line of work is?
It's within the further education sector. I work in what's called the MIS side, which stands for Management Information Services, and it basically is development and maintenance of all the systems that the college uses to enrol students, to measure success, and to report back to the government on what funding we're claiming and why we're claiming it.
Right, okay.
I also have to know all the funding rules and all the course validity from the national databases, and it's, as well as doing that, you're involved with the strategic direction of the college in terms of the curriculum plan they offer for the forthcoming year, and the targeting and all the financial that go along with that.
Right, okay. And so on a scale of 1 to 10, can you tell me how confident you currently feel in your future career?
About a 7, I'd say, at the moment.
Okay, so relatively optimistic.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Which is based on, so we have in FE, there's a lot of interim management that goes on, and I've seen quite a few of these progress through during my time, and they've all told me that people that can do my job are like gold dust. So my confidence is kind of based on what they've
hopefully
said.
you'll feel even more confident when I ask you that question at the end of today's career session. Okay, so can you confirm what your current job title is, Matthew?
It is rather a mouthful. It is Centre Data Coordinator.
And what is your current salary, Matthew?
It's 21,200.
21,200. Okay. So, what is it? We're coming up to New Year's resolutions. Where would you like to see yourself at the end of 2015, Matthew, in your career?
I would like to see myself probably with a little more strategic responsibility. At the moment I manage a small team in the college, but I'd like to see that extend just to carry a little more weight, if you like.
Would it surprise you or not surprise you to learn that I did check the average of your salary brackets across the country, so people doing a similar or the exact job that you've just explained, and the average is £25,800.
It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. No.
How do you feel about your salary compared to the responsibilities you currently have?
I do feel it's low. I understand why it is low. I work in a college that was a failing college, and it was merged by Ed Balls back in 2008 with a larger college based in Grimsby. And there's a deficit that has to be recouped from that, and all the salaries are set out of the Grimsby strategy, which is obviously based in an area where the cost of living is decidedly lower. So I understand it, but it doesn't make me happy about it.
Looking again at where you'd like to see yourself in 12 months, would you like to see yourself with a better salary?
Yes.
So would that be okay to put that as a objective that we agree upon during the session? So, okay, cool. So it sounds like you're very happy, but for the most part you enjoy what you do.
I enjoy what I do, yes.
Would that be correct?
It's occasionally stressful, but yes, I do enjoy it, and were I looking to...
So where are you based, Matthew? Where do you work?
Scarborough.
So is it based in Scarborough?
It is. It's the Yorkshire Coast College campus of the Grimsby Institute Group.
Right, okay. So, is there anything particular, Matthew, I can help you with regarding decisions you need to take in the next 3 to 6 months? In order to, first and foremost, you've achieved the goal you've set out of achieving a better salary.
I think in order to achieve a better salary, I would have to work somewhere else.
So you feel that... Okay, so you don't think would be the opportunity to increase...
The reasoning for that is that all the management that are above me in the Scarborough site are multifunction managers. So my manager, as well as looking after me,
yes.
She looks after several other functions in the college as well. And I'm not sure, firstly, that if the opportunity arose that I would have the experience to do that, and secondly, whether I'd actually want to. I'm quite confident in my job role, and that's the direction I'd like to go in.
So I'm going to put that down as the second objective then, Matthew, which is to secure a new job.
Okay.
Is that... Would you agree with that?
Fair. In order to progress in my function, in my current employment, I probably would have to move to Grimsby, because that's where anybody senior than me that does what I do is based.
And is Grimsby part of the Federation?
It is, yes. But it's...
Do you know what your counterpart is?
Is
there forgive me, Matthew, what was the full job title that you...
Centre Data Coordinator. I'm the only Centre Data Coordinator in the entire group.
Right, it's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
It's a foul, horrible job title.
Centre Data Coordinator.
Yes.
I have noted that again, so it sticks in the mind. Is there one at Grimsby?
No, there isn't. My closest equivalent at Grimsby is probably either Senior Data Coordinator or Deputy Director of Student Records. They're my closest equivalents.
Okay, so we've got two objectives there, and that's come out within the first 10 minutes, which is you want to increase your salary. You feel that where you are at in your career now. Because and just to clarify, how many years have you now been at Scarborough College?
6 years.
6 years, right. Okay. And you also feel that to get further up the ladder, or to just be where you are but on a better salary, would require a look at elsewhere. So Matthew, have you started to look at other job alternatives?
I have, over the past few months.
How's that gone for you?
It's gone very well. There's been a surprising amount of opportunities out there.
That's great.
I looked across, it was the north of England really, so from between spanning York and Manchester and what's in between. And there was, a surprising amount of opportunities.
What resources have you been using to look to job search?
I've used FE Jobs, which is the kind of industry standard for colleges to advertise on. I've used, what's it called, Indeed.
Oh yes,
Indeed.
Yes.
And I have signed up for Monster, but I found that to be absolutely atrocious.
Now Matthew, what qualification-wise, are you degree qualified?
Yes.
Where did you study?
Hull.
And what did you study in?
Business Management and Information Technology.
And what did you achieve?
I achieved a 2-1.
2. Fantastic. Do you see education being at all something you need to pursue? Do you feel you need to be more qualified, or do you think it's not a priority at this stage?
There's things I'd like to do, particularly something called SQL, which stands for Structured Query Language, and it's basically when you're developing reports, a lot of the industry works off the back of this computer language, and so knowing more about that would definitely give me some sort of advantage, I think.
Okay.
It has been put in my appraisal for this year, so we'll see if that happens.
So you work as a centre data coordinator. You're based in Scarborough. It certainly comes across to anyone, myself included, as a niche role. It is not a commonplace role.
Certainly not, no.
What is the opportunities to find like-for-like jobs in the Scarborough area?
In the Scarborough area, slim to none, to be honest. There is one other college at the moment. They're going to start constructing a third college in autumn of this year, but that won't be up and running until summer 2016. So the maximum, really, you could say is there will be 2 other vacancies, unless you move into schools and do a similar thing in schools. But school vacancies come up a lot less than college ones.
Okay. Linking into that then, and certainly the information I've looked at in preparation of our interview does suggest that the options are limited in the Scarborough simply because it is, unfortunately, it's off the beaten track.
Yeah, it's a fair enough observation.
Have you looked further afield then, Matthew?
Yes.
Leeds, York, places like that?
York, I was offered a job in York a couple of years ago. My current employer persuaded me to stay and increased my salary.
That's usually the way, isn't it? Yeah.
I did, over the last few months, I've applied for jobs in Leeds and surrounding the Manchester.
Do you get invited to job interviews off the back of your application?
Yes, there's only one that I haven't been invited to an interview.
Fantastic. So it doesn't sound like that's not something if that's the case, you're getting the interviews, I don't think that's something I need to be helping you with. Mm-hmm. So let's look more at let's look at 2 areas. Firstly, I want to look at the geographical remit. Would you consider the fact that perhaps you might want to look at the whole of the country as well as just Yorkshire, to give you an idea, or is it the case that you really just want to not move, or what? Give me a feeling on that.
Potentially, I don't have there's areas where I wouldn't want to be, because they're not very nice places. But I'm not particularly fussy about where it is, provided I know people. I would find it very difficult to go into a city cold on my own.
Of course, sure.
So
you want to make sure that a few of your friends are established in the area.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, that to me
it narrows it
we operate in similar social circles.
Yeah.
To me, that means you're looking at York, you're looking at Leeds, certainly. And you're looking at London.
London is potential, yes.
Certainly there's, it's like any profession, my own profession, in addition to careers advisors, Matthew is I'm a HR specialist, and I can say guarantee that all job sectors where there might be one job in one area, in London there's at least 10 of them. Mm-hmm. That's the nature of the beast. But I would like to put that as an action point that you would. So far, to recap, we have better salary, that's number 1. Number 2 is secure a new job. Mm-hmm. Number 3 is consider moving options. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that? This is your goals, Matthew.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Yeah.
Would you agree? Okay, so the other thing I'd like you to like to discuss as well is, so we have discussed those 3 areas. Is what is the most important factor for you within a job?
That's a very good question.
What needs to be there? You've mentioned a few of the ingredients. You need to have friends in the area and such. But what needs to happen for you, Matthew, for that job to be the right job? Is it having a coffee machine, perhaps?
That's always a bonus.
Always a bonus.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Okay. Well, it's a hard question to answer, and if there isn't if you don't have a direct answer, fear not. Think about it. Is what I'd say. Think about what what will make you tick and get up every day. Mm-hmm. Because it won't be me doing that, Matthew. It'll be yourself. 5 days a week, getting up and thinking, it's worth my hassle moving for, because a move is a big thing, and you need to think what needs to be in that job. You need your friends outside that job. That's understood, but what your friends won't be with you 37 hours of the week.
Certainly not. I think the potential to progress.
Okay, so
progression is a good one. There's if you follow my line of work to the highest point you can go, there's always a director of my function that sits within the senior management team, usually of the college, and that's if you follow my career, that's, if you're not aiming for that, I think there's something wrong with you. You
Right,
should always be
so-
aiming for the top, and that, in my knowledge and skill set, that is the top. So the ability to do that would be good. Obviously, it's not an overnight.
Matthew,
but
what I'm going to put as an
progression
action
path.
point is I'm going to send you the STAR technique, something that I would like you to work on before our next session in a month's time. So is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay. And I've put that down as well, that there needs to be the potential to progress. So with regards to interviews, so you're getting the interviews, Matthew. And do you feel you perform? Do you need any interview practice? Would that be something that would be helpful at all?
I've only had a handful in the past 6 years, so maybe interview practice would be a good thing. The feedback I've got from them has always been good, and I applied for.
You do come across very confident, which is it is an important asset to have. And you mentioned, yes, I was just going to ask you about the feedback you've received.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit more about the feedback you've had on you at interviews.
It's been very good. Like I said, the York job I was offered, so they were obviously impressed. I went for one last summer in Bridlington, which is one of the kind of rare hen's teeth school jobs that came up. And their feedback was very positive. They said I interviewed very well. I came across very well, my knowledge was good. I fell down on one aspect, which they asked me a question about something specialist to schools, and having never worked in a school, I didn't have the answer to it, which is what tripped me up in that particular interview, but that was the only negative point they fed back to me.
Because people may have differing views on this, indeed people in my own careers advice profession. However, I am of the firm belief that as long as you prepare as much as you cannot necessarily prepare for every question you're asked.
Not, yes.
And from what you've just described, it sounded like there wouldn't have been anything you would have prepared differently, other than obviously looking up that answer to that question. Had you known it would have been
Had I known it existed at all, yes. I mean, it was one of those completely off the wall things.
Matthew, again, it doesn't strike me necessarily that my help will come to you in that area. Certainly not with getting interviews. You're getting them, but you sounds like you don't have the it's not you prepared well enough. You've not said anything to me that strikes me that you didn't prepare, or
no,
would that be correct?
Yeah,
or would you say you?
That's definitely true. I mean, if I get offered an interview which is what you might call a traditional interview, which is me on one side of the table and 2 or 3 people on the other, I believe I can perform in it. The things that I really dislike are when all the candidates arrive together, you're expected to do ice-breaking team activities, and I can't stand that, and I know I'm rubbish at it.
In that case, I would look carefully at the application process before you spend hours of your quality time applying for a job just to find out that they have an assessment centre, which you know is not your strong point, Matthew. Is to look at those jobs where you know that if you get shortlisted, it's straight to a 1 or 2 stage competency-based interview.
Yes.
Would that be a fair analysis?
It certainly would, and unfortunately within my field of work, those assessment days are rare. But yeah, it's not something I like. But that's very fair.
Because you're in direct competition, you can only be so nice to the people who are in the same job.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I'll make a note of that as well, Matthew, that you are a competency-based fan, and that is where I feel certainly that strikes out that you perform at your best. So I think we're slowly coming towards the end, starting to come towards the end of our discussion. Just want to go over some resources for you. So I mentioned the STAR technique. I do want you to look up YouTube.
Okay.
Just jobs.ac.uk is a great resource for jobs in the educational sector. Prospects, I want you to use that along with YouTube to look up people who are currently doing the job or the next level up, because I think that's really, you don't see you've not mentioned any need or want to move out of the profession you're in, Matthew.
No.
So we're looking for a like-for-like job or small promotion would be. Is that correct, Matthew?
That is, yeah. I mean, I've not maximised my potential in what I do at the moment, and so to move on to something else, which would entail pretty much starting from the ground up again, I'm not fancying that.
Yeah, and because we have looked also at some of the we've discussed the approaches you've taken, and it sounds like the approach you take is if it, there's an old saying, if it isn't broke, don't fix it, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And what you're doing is sensible.
Okay.
What you need to do though, and I think they link in, there's an underlying current in each of the objectives. And I'm going to sum up the objectives now. So objective number 1, better salary, and this action plan will be sent to you via email, incidentally, after you've objective number 2, which comes hand in hand with that, is secure a new job. Objective number 3 is consider the option of moving to secure objectives 1 and 2. Number 4 was that in order to achieve 1s, 2 and 3 is to make sure that there is the potential to progress within that job. And also we've agreed as well that you would undertake the STAR technique and assess yourself to help you identify strengths and weaknesses. And objective number 6 is, where possible, make sure that you have competency-based interviews and do not put yourself at a disadvantage for you as your style. Because no matter how well we all prepare for certain things, we just do not get me to draw a picture. For example, I am a terrible artist. I don't think we should have, from what you said, Matthew, it would be inadvisable for you to be attending interviews involving assessment centres.
Yes, I've never been successful in them,
so let's play. Interviews are in a way about playing to your strengths.
Yeah.
Working on the areas that are your weaknesses, yes, but always play to your strengths. You come across extremely well confident, well composed, and somebody who looks hireable.
Thank you.
And let's always in my line of work as a careers advisor, they often forget this, that the interviewers panel are looking for an excuse not to not hire you, but to hire you. You just need to give them that excuse.
Yes.
So that's really summing up. And I think underneath there is an undercurrent tone underneath all those objectives which you've identified, Matthew, which I've written down for your benefit, is the need to, I suppose, think outside of the current bubble. It's not an easy thing to do. We all have bubbles and we all live within them. But to really stretch yourself and think, and to make some really, what potentially might seem at first very difficult, but it's ultimately worthwhile and long-term and ambitious New Year's resolutions.
Okay.
So I'd like you to think about that, Matthew.
Very good.
I'd like to also go over your CV. I just think there might be some things that can help you with there. And I will let's arrange for you to have a role-playing exercise with me when we next meet.
Okay.
Do you have any questions, Matthew?
No, I don't. Everything's covered very well.
Are you happy with the action plan we've come up with?
It's perfectly good, yes, perfectly fair.
Can I finally ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, to now rate again how you feel about your career options?
I'd bump it up maybe to an 8 then.
Do you feel
I think
what
so.
we've discussed is that just clarified a few things and put it, I will type this up for you, Matthew. Well, and I've mentioned about the further resources, so I'd like to thank you very much for your time, and
Thank you,
I'll see you again in 6 weeks' time.
Okay.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
Thanks.